Welcome to Voices of Care, real stories to inspire, uplift, and unite caregivers, with Maggie, Linton, and Powell. Enjoy the conversation.
Welcome to Voices of Care. I'm Maggie Linton along with Powell, and today we have a very special guest, Cadell Cook, and he is the writer and director of an absolutely heartwarming movie called Forgetting. Thank you so much for joining us, Cadell.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start out asking, what brought you to know that this story needed to be told?
Well, this is kind of based on my personal experience. I grew up with a lot of Alzheimer's in my family. I've always had someone with it, so I have a personal experience with it. Um, and it was the time for me because it was a story that I could tell with my experience, but I was also doing personal research for because of my caretaking for my family. And it was just the right time for me personally, and it was the right time for my actors as well because I had a lot of other people who wanted to help me tell the story, and they were experiencing or had experienced something similar. So what we all found was that talking about Alzheimer's or dementia in the family is very difficult to do. So we wanted to provide a seed, something to help people begin the conversation.
When you talk about the seed, I think of how many people see something's going on, but don't know how to label it. And because of lacking the label information, they find themselves searching, but not always in the right places. And that's what you have given them direction for.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. We did a good amount of research. Again, it came from my personal experience, but I did general research, and then we also got before we started filming, we got the script sent to Alzheimer's Association to make sure that I was speaking about stuff that was specific and universal, so that people could relate.
And there are really universal signs, aren't there?
I think that there are some universal signs that most people go through, whether it be just general memory loss or personality change. There are some specific things that do happen differently for different causes of dementia, but we wanted to touch on the things that I had experience with, and things that are universal.
Let's talk about the actors because they did an outstanding job. I'll admit it, I'm a Victoria Rowell fan. And to see her come in with such grace and such understanding, playing Marie, it was really important, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we got in touch with her through a few of my producer friends, and she read the script and really wanted to support what we were doing. She's a big proponent of mental health in general, but wanted to help us speak on this topic as well. And she was very kind and easy to work with, and we loved having her on set. And a majority of the other actors were all local to where I'm from in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, except for Raisa Doyley. She's from Atlanta. But we all wanted to. The passion behind telling the story was present in every element, from the actors, from the cast and the crew.
Had anybody on that crew, and I'm talking about actors all the way down to the sound man or whatever, experienced anything like that in their families?
A majority. So when I was building my team, I already had crew that I'm used to working with. So um, it was like a strange coincidence. It may have been that, or it might be that people just have this experience in their families, but people just don't know how to talk about it. So we had this thing in common that we didn't even really know. So yeah, so the crew members, about 80 to 90% of them had either a close family member or a family member that had experienced the type of dementia. The department heads, they all had someone. So it was just it was a passion project, but it was also like a mission project for most of us.
Well, you delivered on the mission. I will tell you, you definitely delivered on the mission.
Thank you.
Carl, you got something you want to say?
I want to go back to when you said how gently the story was told, because
Hmm.
that for me was key. Because I watched it with two of my roommates. We had never discussed dementia in our families too much before. And we watched the movie. The movie ended, and then we sat here for another 35 minutes discussing things that we had never touched on, even between us, even though we're very close to each other. So I think that it really was a gentle way to stimulate the conversation. Then it reflected back. I was talking to my uncle, and we started talking about dementia in my family, and we started talking about my grandfather. And they had never told me that my grandfather had dementia. I had moved away from home and never really knew. But when I gave them the movie to watch, they came back with the same thing. Oh, well, grandpa had that. And then that had never even been expressed or explained to me. So I think the movie for me is this most beautiful, gentle opener for a conversation that is vital, because in this world, in this time, that's why this movie is so timely. This is what's happening in the world right now. It's happening more than ever, and we really need to have a better understanding. And how do we talk about it? So I appreciate how to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to touch on it in a way that was honest and in a way that didn't like heighten the more difficult parts, the when the memory loss gets really tense, the tension of it. And
Mm.
the other films that I was studying that touch on Alzheimer's, they do really focus on that memory loss, confusion, and the battle that happens in the family sometimes. You know, because movies do have to have conflict for sure. But what I wanted
Mhm.
to do was I wanted to provide an honest basis, and I wanted to tell it in a with a sort of hopeful, community-based message, right? So if we only look at how detrimental the disease is, which it is,
Mm.
then we kind of have to end in tragedy. But if we look at the community that we can build, if we share honestly and openly with those around us who want to and can help, then it's a completely different message. So it was about the community, the caregivers, and the family that comes around, that is formed around someone who's dealing with dementia.
Many Black families have secrets, and they feel like if they let those secrets out, like Carl was just saying, his grandfather had it and nobody happened to mention it at that point. You know, the folks that are directly next to you are there. But that's one of the things that I found about forgetting is that it opened the door to conversation. And that's one of the gifts that you really gave us through this movie.
Thank you, thank you. The Yeah, that was the goal. I'm really glad that it's working.
Mhm.
It's hard to predict, but that is really difficult to to lay out the plan and for it to really come to fruition. So thank you for that.
Have you entered it into, I know you probably have, into other um, film contests and things along those lines? Because it's a story that can hit, it doesn't matter what race you are, that hits families hard.
Yes, we. I'm from Maryland, and the Prince George's Film Festival. We actually won Best Film at that festival locally. So we did enter it into a few other festivals, but at the time, if you've seen the film, it has a Christmas. It takes place around the holidays. Um,
Right.
so and we did that because in reality. If you are a family member, that's when the Alzheimer's sort of becomes a heavier weight, when family traditions and stuff like that are affected by a patriarch or matriarch, suffering from something like this. So we centered the film around Christmas and around the holidays because of that. But we named the original name for the film was Forgetting Christmas. So we rebranded it. We changed the name so that we could tell the story throughout the year because it's a universal story. It happens throughout the year.
Yes.
So we changed the name, but at the time we were entering it as Forgetting Christmas, which means they were trying to fit it into the Christmas film genre. And most Christmas films are comedies and stuff, and this is a drama with hope, a hopeful drama. So
Yeah.
it just didn't fit in the genre as well, but it's still a very strong story that can exist outside of the Christmas genre. So yeah, it was entered into a few festivals, but I think that I'm really happy that it's on Tubi now, so that the world can see it and benefit from the story.
I don't know how to say this otherwise than just putting it right out there. Enter it in more contest. Whatever you can do, there's the Annapolis one, there's the Baltimore one, things like that. You need to get this film out because Alzheimer's in particular, but caregivers in general, which is why you're here and what we're talking about, need to know a different way of approach rather than hiding.
Yes.
Yeah, we will definitely consider it. The festivals do have some rules on filming and stuff. Usually, if it's released to the public, they won't let you submit it. So we may have passed that window, but there are different ways to get it to the public.
Yeah, I recommend it highly. I was uplifted by it. Thankfully, in my family, my immediate family, on my mom and dad's side, there isn't any. But on my husband's side, his sister, full blown, I'm sitting in front of her. You know how there's always one or two people that the Alzheimer patient always knows? My husband and our daughter are the only two people she recognized. I'm sitting directly in front of her and she's asking my husband, "Where am I?"
Yeah,
And I wanted to go right here,
yeah.
right here. But it's that reality of what this disease can do, robbing you. She remained pleasant, she remained happy, but she couldn't tell you what happened 2 minutes beforehand.
Yeah, and that part is common, and it doesn't get any easier unless you accept that the person with the disorder is not, or the disease is not doing it on purpose.
Right,
Right.
It's a ailment of the brain, so
exactly.
some things just change. And what I tried to do, my mother just passed away in October from it. What I tried to do was I tried to focus on the things that she could hold on to. We had music in our house, and she loved listening to the Motown and soul and stuff. So wherever I visited, we just played music and sang, and that's what we did. She also lost her vision because of her multiple sclerosis, so that's pretty much all we could do. But the idea was to focus on what brought joy to my mom. Yeah. So that's kind of what I would recommend people, no matter what level you're at. Don't fight the memory issue. Focus on what you can do to connect.
Your memory has to be the same as theirs. You just have to go back and realize if they have short-term memory, you have to have short-term memory at that moment also, because you can't pull them back into your reality because their reality has changed. And understanding it, that's the most important part, because the misunderstandings make us as caregivers feel so terrible, so misunderstood. And that's why your movie was so important for me, because when I started writing my book, what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a community where people had a venue to find information and let them know they're not alone. And your movie said to me the moment I finished it was that it had the same message. You're not alone. It's not so terrible. There are beautiful moments in it. And if we focus on the beauty of it, it'll be so much easier as we go through the experience.
Right, right. You made a good point. The beauty of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult in the beginning if you're sort of hanging on to how things used to be. But
Mm-hmm.
um, if you really look at what it's doing, it makes you focus on now,
Right.
be present in the moment. And that's where like a lot of meditation and mental health focus requests for you to focus on like the now, instead of wishing the past was different or being afraid about the future. Be present. So in a way, it's like centering both of you. It's like all you have is now, and that's the song at the end of the film is about that. That plays over the credits. Um, it's written from the perspective of someone who has dementia, and it is about singing with me in this moment and living in this moment.
The other thing that I found is that you got each person who was involved to approach an understanding of what was going on in the person's life. You didn't just lump them all together. Each one of them had to discover how they could relate. And that's one of the hardest things to do.
I mean, yeah, that's very true. Like when you are really close and connected to the person, like maybe you grew up with them, like if you're a daughter or son or daughter, you're going to have a different relationship if you're talking about someone who's like a friend from church or something like that. So it's going to be a different experience, and everyone's going to come to it from a different angle. But the point is to just embrace what's happening and to do what you can to help in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's going to handle that differently because everyone has a different relationship with with the person who has the ailment. So yeah,
Yeah.
For me, my mother and I was the closest person to her. So whenever I challenged her reality, that's what made her the most angry because I was the person who was her anchor. So if your anchor is saying to you that you're crazy, what you're saying comes out of your mouth is crazy, it really messes with your reality, period. So I had to learn how to be gentler with my explanation of what was going on at the moment and see it through her eyes instead of seeing it through my eyes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's very well. I mean, we all kind of have to learn that at whatever speed we can. And like with my mom, whenever we dealt with something that she thought was real but wasn't, my
Mhm.
mom was a chemistry teacher, so she was very good at what she did. So she leaned on logic. So what I did was because that way of thinking was still sort of there, I would start with something that we agreed on, and then I would logically pace my way through what's going on. So I would never just say you're wrong. I would say, oh well, let's explore that. Just start wherever we are and just walk on through. You know,
But that's what you brought out in the story.
yeah.
The gentleness. It was it was beautiful the way you made each person kind of come to the reality that they could still communicate with the person, but had to know how to do it and they had to find their own way. But you gave them tools for it.
Yeah, yeah, and that I gave them tools, and and some of them had to discover it along the way. Part of
Mhm.
what the story is really embracing is how the community sort of erects around someone that needs help, and you discover the tools. Some people are really good at doing the person to person emotional connection with someone with dementia. Other people are good at just going to the store and getting stuff, and that's still helpful. And don't demean that. It's still needed. It's still part of what the community, what the team can be doing, and they're all needed. So it is sort of a way to acknowledge caregivers and how different you can, and the different roles that caregivers can be effective in helping.
One of the things I have to ask, and I'm really curious, is when did you realize your mom was starting to slide into that realm?
Well,
What
for
were the signs?
well, I was I was inspired to write this film because from my aunt. Actually, my aunt had early onset, and
Wow.
that was 15, 20 years ago. So she passed away in her 50s from it. So
Wow.
it was really difficult for us to um, adjust. Our family was really impacted by that. So this was written with that in mind. My mom wasn't diagnosed until after the movie came out. So
Wow.
I didn't know that I was going to be. I have a lot more in common with April, the lead character, now after it was released than I did when I wrote it, because the film deals with family loss and disease, and my mom was diagnosed and my sister passed away while we were making the movie, so I have a lot
Oh,
in common with April now. So yeah,
yeah.
but the first signs for my mom, um, it's like I said, it's different for everyone because there's like Parkinson's can cause dementia. There's a lot of different causes. Um,
Hmm.
and it could just be diet. There's a lot. But my mom had multiple sclerosis, so her vision and her cognition were affected. So her vision started to be affected first, and then her memory began to fade a bit. So it was really the first signs that pointed us to dementia were her like confusion, and because I've seen, we've seen it so much in our family, we kind of knew what it was. Yeah,
It's a tough lot, and you know that it's in your family, so you're probably doing everything you can to keep your brain rolling.
everything, everything. I stay active physically and mentally. My diet is extremely clean right now, uh,
Uh-huh.
and one of the things that motivate me to continue to be creative is because I know that this is could potentially be part of my future. So I'm working on different projects, different films and stuff as we speak. I'm letting it motivate me instead of it being a burden.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what's in the can. What are you working on? And are we going to continue with the glorious fact that you help people understand?
Well, Forgetting is on Tubi, and I have a another film called Perfectly Us that's about a divorced couple that is still in love. So those two are the two drama films that are out now that are dealing with difficult topics that I want people to be able to talk about. Right, and my next project is going to be a comedy. I need to do something funny, so that'll be coming out soon as well.
Cordell, you're obviously doing the right thing, making people think. How can people get in touch with you?
Okay, well, I'm on Instagram as R Cadell Cook, RCADELLCOOK, and my company website is House Cat Creative. You can reach me there as well.
House cat? Okay,
HouseCatCreative.com.
cool. Thank you very much.
Well,
And
Cadell, I want to thank you so much for reaching out to me because he reached out to me on Instagram and I was thrilled and even
uh-huh.
more thrilled, triply thrilled when I watched the movie because sometimes people will reach out to you and they send you something and you go, okay, well, I'm going to have to be nice about this. But this wasn't the situation at all because his movie is the same reason that I'm writing my book in the first place. It's
Exactly.
because I wanted people to know that there was light in there, that there was beauty in there, that we had to learn to tone down our temper and just enjoy the moment, be in it instead of because when it's gone, your perspective will 100% change. You'll see it completely differently. Most important with my mother, no matter how painful those moments were, no matter how many times I had to run to the bathroom and cry and then come back and pretend like I was okay, being in the moment with her is what I remember the most. And I will always tell these stories and I will always be involved with caregivers and caregiving because that will always keep her alive because I will always be telling her story. So
Yeah.
thank you, Cadell, for contacting me and helping me keep my mother's story alive and yours.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Cadell, there's one other thing I want to add is thank you for doing this film because, again, Black families have a tendency to be in denial, and many other families are too, but we seem to hold on to it with both fists. And that's something that you helped
10
open
toes
things
down.
out and toast. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And my family is guilty of that as well. So I made this for the community, for anyone of any race that has the issue of uh, uh, the difficulty of discussing disease and sickness and stuff in the family. So we are guilty of it. But again, this should be if you watch it alone or watch it with family, this should be something that can help you get started.
Yeah. Open the doors to conversation.
That's right. And not just conversation, sharing resources and ideas. Because
Mhm.
there are times where maybe Carl had experienced something and he knows a resource that he contacted to help him with something. And if I'm not open enough to talk about it, I'll never get that resource, and it's sitting in Carl's mind, and I never get it. So that's the idea, to open the conversation so that you don't feel alone, and so that you can share resources and ideas.
Very true. Give us the website one more time and how you can be found.
Okay, my company website is housecatcreative.com. You can reach out to me there or through Instagram at Cadell Cook.
All right. Listen, thank you so much. God's blessings for continued great work and opening people's eyes.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.